safe loading responsibilities that you have. You're responsible to make sure that the vehicle is loaded safely and legally, and to make sure that you are meeting all cargo securement and weight distribution requirements. Remember, safety is the number one priority. That's why it's important to know how to responsibly and safely load your cargo. Now, some safe loading responsibilities that you have to keep in mind are to avoid standing between the load and the vehicle, remain within or stay within the loading machine operator's view, and avoid standing in the loading machine intended path. So when you're getting ready to load, you want to be able to do that safely. So that way there's no miscommunication. Make sure that everything is not just compliant, but make sure you are safely doing that. So that way you can save your life and other people's lives around you. Then know what you're hauling. This is important. The amount you're hauling, you have to know what the vehicle can safely carry. So that's what they mean by know what you're hauling, and make sure the commodity matches your bill of landing or shipping papers. Commodity is articles or materials or products or goods or merchandise. That's what they mean by commodity. And bill of landing, also known as BL, is the written transportation contract between the shipper and the carrier. It shows the freight, who is delivered it to, and it shows the place of the delivery and the terms and conditions of the agreement. So that's why you want to make sure the commodity matches the bill of landing or shipping papers. Then you want to report any discrepancies and the document on your shipping papers. So I mean, you want to make note of any types of damages or misconception or anything that is not properly secured. Then you want to check the condition of the cargo and do not allow any damaged, leaking, wet, or questionable cargo to be loaded on your vehicle, because when you're hauling cargo or transporting it, it is your responsibility until it is safely secured to the person that is receiving that cargo. You also want to resolve any cargo discrepancies or issues before signing that bill of landing or shipping papers. So no, if you have any question about accepting the shipment, call or contact your supervisor, because if you sign those shipping papers, you're signing that saying that I authorize, this is the cargo that I'm distributing, this is the cargo that is safe, is secure, and this is the right person I'm delivering to. And that means if anything happens, you are held responsible for that cargo or anything that happens to it once you sign your paper on that bill of landing or shipping papers. That's why it's important. If you have any doubt of accepting that shipment or delivering it, call or contact your supervisor. Now, when it comes to loading and unloading hazardous materials specifically, now there are certain procedures, protocols, and steps that must be followed when you're loading or unloading hazardous materials from your vehicle. Now, these procedures or guidelines, they're there to protect you and others around the vehicle when you're loading and unloading, and that's during the unloading or unloading process. Now, these guidelines are set out in the regulations. So some safety measures to include will be to set the parking brake, have the right proper tools, securing packages safely and securely, no smoking, placards, and then segregation. And I'm gonna break down specifically each one of these. So you want to set the parking brake before loading and unloading hazardous materials. Now, the parking brake must be set, and safety measures or extra precautions must be taken so you can prevent from rolling the vehicle. And that's in order to avoid the vehicle from moving. Then you have some tools. Now, any tools that's used to load or unload hazardous materials must be used with care. So there's no damage, closures on packages or containers, and there's no harm to the packages itself. Then you have securing packages. So the packages that contains hazardous materials that's not only permanently attached to a vehicle, that must be secured against any movement, and that includes shifting or movement between the packages during the normal transportations. Then no smoking. It's forbidden, meaning you are not allowed to smoke, and you cannot smoke near a vehicle while you're loading or unloading class 1 explosive, class 3 flammable and combustible liquid, class 4 flammable solid, class 5 oxidizer, and division 2.1 flammable gas. Because that is extremely flammable, dangerous, hazardous materials. So you cannot smoke around these types when you are loading or unloading. And all fire sources must be kept and put away from any vehicle when hauling any of these materials. Then you have placards. Placards is a diamond-shaped sign that's required by regulation, and it's required to be displayed on all four sides of a motor vehicle when you're carrying hazardous materials. With placards, most vehicles hauling hazardous materials must be placarded. Now, the shipper is responsible for providing or giving the right amount of placards. And then you, the driver, is responsible for correctly putting them on your vehicle and to keep them while transporting hazards during transportation. And then also to keep in mind the label. The label is a 4x4 diamond identification that's placed on packages. So that represents the contents within the packages through the use of specific colors and symbols. Now, when it comes to segregation, the hazardous materials regulations, or the HMRs, contain segregation requirements that will indicate or tell you which hazardous materials may not be loaded, transported, or stored together. Now, the following are subject to the segregation requirements if the hazardous materials are in packages that require labels, in a compartment with a multi-compartmented cargo tank, in a portable tank loaded in a transport vehicle, or freight containers. So that is something to keep in mind. Hey, BET Trainer here. Listen, if you really had true value out of this video, go ahead and click that like button and share some honest comments about this video, because this is going to help other people as well see the video and get the value information, so that way they can be inspired by what you're doing right now as well. So also, if you want to get the latest updates, go ahead and click the subscribe button, so then you can be able to always be updated on the next instant video that will be put out. So again, go ahead and do that. And this video was sponsored by BET Life Services and CDL for Life.